you like? What art books? Is that your favorite type of book?
Yes, of course. You love looking at art and you want to know their trade secrets and but I also love inspirational books. Books on how to be better and not so called spiritual books, but maybe like for at the moment I'm reading a book written by Dalai Lama, and it's all keeps me reminded of building your traits, your character, and so variety of stuff. So I listen to some stuff that's business related. So like you say, like I've got earbuds in my ears all the time.
So do you have a favorite business book that you're?
Okay, I would say that the one book that really, how you read books.
Here's all my books.
Yes. You read certain books, but there's one book that kind of turn your life around or it brings you to the next level. And that one book was called 10X by Grant Cardone.
Okay.
And have you ever seen anything by him? He's like a very highly charged, excitable kind of person. So just listening or seeing him, you get some of that energy transferred. Okay. And so that is what I need, right? A kick in the butt and get all excited.
That's your accountability partner, this book, right?
So, but his main point of the book was that no matter what you're doing is not enough. You have to 10x in order to get results, right? So if you're contacting one client per week, he said, no, contact 10 a day.
That's right.
And so... and I was like at the other extreme, right? Maybe I'll contact that one client tomorrow. But after listening to him, I thought, wow, I really need to amp up my, my efforts and whatnot. But having said that, the other thing is then, of course, you still need to maintain some kind of balance in all your different areas of your life because you can 10x your business and not do anything else, not exercise, not eat well. So you don't want that. So he says, you can 10x in your spiritual life, 10x in your family life. So there's still a balance.
So now you're doing 100x and you're still, and that's probably one of the biggest books for me was this one here. And it's called How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Bettger. I don't know if you can even find this book anymore. You probably could. It's by Fireside Books. I used to belong to a multi-level marketing company, and they had a book of the month. Like everybody had to read the same book, and this was one of the books. And what I liked about that book, it's actually about a guy selling insurance.
Yes.
It's got nothing to do with art. But what I really liked about that book is it showed you that, because he goes about talking about how he wanted to get more sales and interviewing people, and you find out that it's not about business. Yes. It teaches you how to ask questions, teaches you how to... And if you look at most business meetings, people go into a business meeting and you wonder why most business is done on a golf course. Because we're talking golf. We're not even talking business. And at the end you say, by the way, call me next week and we'll get together. I did a presentation this morning and afterwards the guy says, do you do those cartoons with the whiteboard? I said, yeah. He says, I'll call you. Only because I had a presentation. I didn't talk about cartoons. I had a cartoon in my presentation. So that's how it works. A lot of times it's not talking about the... So I found this book. I've read it a number of times. Dale Carnegie did the foreword on it. And it's a really old book. Like you can see it's yellowing.
Yes.
Back before the iPad, this is what we actually had to read. Right. And if you look at a lot of my books, I think even the yellow, the highlighter is worn out of it. Right?
Is that right?
That's how much I like these
Now,
books.
do you actually highlight your books? And I'm a little bit strange that way. I don't want to deface my books. I kind of like... take notes on the side, but then there's a problem, right? Relating your notes to the book.
I used to highlight all the time, and I still do now. The iPad makes it a little easier because you can click highlight and it brings up all your highlights. Yes. I read most of my books on the iPad now, so I'm not buying physical books so much anymore. But I still buy books on a regular basis. I used to hate to read, and now when I went back to school when I was 40, I was taught to. They got me kind of reading more and writing. That's when I started. Yeah. And your writing gets better when you read. So now I make sure I read all the time because, of course, I do a lot of writing for my business.
Right. It needs to feed that, right?
Yeah. So this is a business book. So what about an art book?
An art book, okay, one that I remember, like way back, it was one of the first books that I ordered online.
Okay.
And the ding dong, and the guy delivers the book. I brought the box into my studio, opened it, and I read the book, 127 pages or so, from cover to cover in one sitting.
Wow.
It was.
You're a good reader.
No, but it's an art book too. But so it had a lot of pictures. But the way he explained how to, improve your paintings, and just the way he laid out it. It was a book by Lynch. It was watercolor. I wasn't even doing watercolor at the time, but it had a subtitle, "The Master's Watercolor Secrets." Secrets from the master.
Yeah.
Like, yes, that's what I need. So, and I think books have to come to you at the right time.
They do.
Right? It's sometimes you get a book and somebody recommends it to you, and you read it, and it's not hitting you the same way it's hitting to your friend. So it's got to be the right time, and I think I was just so right for that book. I understood what he said. There were things that I didn't know before.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of value from it in that one sitting. So we can recommend books, but I think it has to be the right book for you at the time. Right?
I know one of my favorite books here, and I have it here, is this one here called The Technical Pen. And this one here I found in a bookstore for $20. And it's been my favorite book. I won't even take it to classes. I take it to classes and show them like this, but you can't actually touch it. And it's just amazing pen and ink work. This guy is Gary Simmons. And an amazing artist. And I'm a big pen and ink guy. So this is the type of tight pen and ink I used to do. I'm not doing it so much anymore. But it's got exercise, but I have done that book many times, and that's one of my favorites. So as far as an art book that really inspired my art, I'm going to say that's one.
That one that took you to.
Did you have a favorite one when you're? I don't want to say growing up, because I probably didn't start reading until I was already grown up.
Yeah.
But one that maybe, I don't know, whenever you were really just starting at the beginning of your art career.
During the time. Well,
like when you started painting, even back before business, not before when you started your business, but before that, is there a book that really kind of helped you along?
There probably were. Now, I just want to talk about a book that I really loved as growing up as a kid.
Okay.
And I just still remember that book, and I wish I still have it.
So tell us about it. No, we don't have to know the name.
I know. I want to talk about it because it was a book, Thumbalina.
Okay.
But I got it as an I got it as a prize for art, and it was just such a beautiful, beautiful, hardcover book.
Yeah.
And I remember I have memories of me leafing through that book time and again and again and again. I kept just looking at the pictures.
Yeah.
They were beautiful paintings. I love color, but this book was very monochromatic. There's a lot of grays and blues but yet it was just so exquisitely done. And of course the subject matter is very exquisite.
Yeah.
It's about a little fairy and flowers and whatnot. Yeah. And I just love that book, and I actually tried to look online to see if I can see it on Amazon, and I couldn't find it.
No.
So but that book gave me so much pleasure looking at all the paintings of that book.
It's funny you say that. So one of mine was this one too, and it's a closer look. I don't even know where I got it. Like, it's cost $3.99. I can bet you. I think this one somebody gave it to me, and it's kind of similar to this one here.
Yeah.
And it inspired me a lot. You can see that this guy here is Patrick Woodroffe, and he used to do record albums and stuff. He's from England or Wales or something like that. And amazing stuff. And he even shows in the back how he sets up these models to do photo shoots. And just amazing work. So that one really, I've had that since I was a kid. I don't even remember. But when I was a kid actually starting to draw, Frank Frazetta has been one of my favorites. And Frank does a lot of, I guess I should show it this way for a minute. But what he does, he's a famous artist from the past. He's a cartoonist. But he also does a lot of this amazing art, like, with fantasy style art. So in the sci-fi community, he's a god.
Right.
Right. So I think he's passed on now. I'm not even sure if he's still around. But this was one of my favorites as well. And I used to go buy them When I got enough money saved up, I would go and buy it. So I've got like 4 or 5 of them.
Right. Yeah, you see, when I was a child, I did not get into art books.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know why. It just was not in my realm. I don't know.
That's how I learned to draw. That was my art lessons. I stopped going to art class in grade 6. There was no art. This was my art classes. These famous artists but I would get the kind that was the style of art I like to do, like painting or whatever.
Yeah. Somehow I was not exposed to them. I don't know. But really, growing up, I didn't think that being an artist was a career possibility or
People
a choice.
still don't think it's a career.
So I just drew and sketched or whatever. Yeah. So it would have been good if I had all those.
Yes. So what's one that, since you jumped off, is there one that's helped you as far as?
Okay, the book in the area of creativity, the book is by Julia Cameron. She's got several books. But I think she wrote the book called War of Art.
Okay.
And that is,
because there's one called The Art of War, and it's a business book.
Yes, this is called War of Art.
Okay.
And she advocates, certain practice, and one of them is called morning pages, or morning journaling. Mm-hmm. It's really a time when you first thing in the morning. That's when I do all my writing. Right? Dump your brain. Yeah. She more or less says to dump your brain. And it's like, what is meditation? It's like brushing your teeth for your soul. It's like wind wiper shield, just to get the gunk out of your mind and your brain so that it opens up the space for you to be creative. So she, and I've, I looked into how a lot of people do attest to that method works. So it's kind of meditative, and it allows you to really get all the grime and your negative feelings out before you start the day. So
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. One that really helped me, and it's a caricature book.
Yeah.
This one here called Face Off, and I have some caricature friends that have books out, so just because I didn't mention your book doesn't mean that it's not important to me. But this one here, when I was trying to figure out, it's called Face Off. And this is by Harry Hammernik. And I don't know Harry at all. He's not a caricature artist that I know. But the way he does his caricatures is the style that I do my caricatures. Oh. So when I was learning caricatures and learning how to do them fast, because you have to do them in a system to do them fast.
Right.
This book was one that I was able to relate to. Now, I've got a friend, Tom Richmond, and I'm hoping to have Tom on the show one day, and he's a famous caricature artist. He does Mad Magazine, that kind of style, and his style is what I'm trying to get my style to. And he's just an amazing guy, and he's got a book out too, but I find his it's maybe more advanced than this, or a little harder to understand than this one. And so everybody's got good books, but it depends on where your brain is at the time. So that's
for sure. Like when I first started drawing portraits, I had a book, Getting a Likeness. I can't remember the author's name. And it showed the method where you grid your paper. And you do. And, I was getting quite good, actually, why not? When you do it by grid way, you can't help but get pretty much good resemblance. Yeah. But now, I had to give that book away because now I don't want to use the grid system, right? You want to draw or paint by sight. Yeah. So, but that was a good way for me to jump in and to feel encouraged that, hey, I can maybe draw a fairly decent face. Eh?
Yes. I had an artist on the show called Thomas Kesar, is how he pronounces his name, from out west, and we're working on an app to help people with likeness.
Really?
So he was on our show in January. So make sure
do you still have to be an artist though?
He's an artist. I don't know. I used to do the grid method. I used to do tracing paper, all that kind of stuff. I now kind of don't do that stuff anymore. But I think as a learning tool, there's nothing wrong with it.
For sure, absolutely. Yeah.
What questions have you got over there? You got questions?
Yes.
Because I didn't have any questions today. But
well, what book would you suggest that really impacted you? It can be any book. one that
So
kind of,
many.
there's so many, right?
I've got my whole wall here of books. I still buy art books. Now when I buy art books, it's more in case I teach a class. You know, the last few years I've been buying art books for kids. So if I'm going to be teaching a kid and I come across a good cartooning book, I'll buy that just because when I have them do reference on their own, like if they're drawing a strip. So I've been doing some of that. I don't know. There's been so many books that I don't have one that
Yes.
I could
Right.
say. But this one here, for most artists, the Ethical Pricing Guidelines book is a good one here. It comes out, I think, every year. And if you want to know about how copyright works, or it is a U.S. book, and the amount of prices they say that you can get for like illustrating something, I've never seen those prices, but I guess if you're a top artist, you might get those prices. But they tell you, you know, how much you should charge if somebody wants you to illustrate for magazines, and it goes by how many magazine distribution, how many, you know, they put out, that kind of thing. So this is a good book. It's not my favorite book. It's not my favorite book by any means, but it's the kind of book that every artist should have on the shelf, I think,
Really?
just for reference.
Because pricing is so hard.
Well, they talk about everything from pricing to copyright. They talk about all the different genres, from cartooning to video to illustration, how to do a contract.
Yes.
Things that
Stuff.
once you're in the business for a while, you learn, but you may not really notice it. If you're starting out, like, what do I put in a contract?
Mm-hmm.
So, I have some other books, depending if I'm drawing cars, trucks, people. There's a whole,
Right.
like, I mean, I could go on and on.
Techniques.
I have more books than most people will. I just got them hidden away because now they're all paperbacks. But I love reading, and I've read them all, and I keep them all, and I read them again. You know, I always go by whatever the topic is.
Yes.
So as far as a favorite book, I can't say I have one anymore.
Right.
But I have multiple favorites.
Yes, for sure. I found that there's one book that I am kind of, going back on and thinking about, and it's called The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Okay.
And that is very relevant to me because I found that in the years past, I am trying to do like too many things, even just within the one day.
Yeah.
Right? Being distracted or looking at other artists and saying, wow, they're doing such great work, and I'm doing this, but maybe I should be doing that. I think a lot of artists go through that time.
Yeah.
And you may allow yourself to go through that a little bit just so that you can discover, unearth for yourself what it is that you really like to do.
Right.
But after a while, you have to stop because then you are mediocre in like so many areas and master of none.
Yeah.
So this book says the one thing that you just have to just sit down and just concentrate on that in order to get the results that you want.
Yeah.
So I think that is a very, essential concept for us. Otherwise we're like they say, if you're trying to catch 2 chickens or 2 rabbits at one time, you're going to end up with none.
That's right.
Catch none. So that's a good concept.
Good. So those are some good books, I think, for people to take away. I'm sure everybody, we like to find out what you guys want to think. So send us a comment on your favorite book on the show notes.
That would be interesting.
What are we going to talk about next time? I think juried shows, right? We haven't gotten into that whole basket.
About evaluating your work.
Let's go with evaluating your work.
Yes.